the storm system that I talked about in my previous video has now gotten worse. An enhanced risk has been placed in parts of Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri, and yeah, I already said Kansas. It has been placed, and the threat is damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. And just for context, another marginal risk have been placed over here. But I'm going to show you guys the current hazards in this area for the enhanced risk for storms. No 10% for tornado, only 5% in this kind of brown shaded region. In this region is the brown is the 5%, and in the green is the 2%, which is it's 5% is likely it's 5% of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point. So let's say Cedar Rapids. Within 25 miles of there is a 5% of seeing a tornado rather than a 10% or 30 or 60, which is rare. Which it's rare. Now if we head over to the National Weather Service hazards, they just updated it as a tornado watch is now issued. A tornado watch had now just been issued for parts of Iowa and parts of Iowa and Nebraska, and a little bit of Kansas. Not much though. This we will go over this here in a second. The current threats for here will be obviously tornadoes. Some could be intense if they form. Large hail and damaging winds, which was the primary threat. The primary threat was large hail and damaging winds, but tornado threat started to come up. And a high wind risk had also been placed over here in Pennsylvania for that marginal risk that has been placed right over here. But let's get into the radar now and what the radar is forecasted to show. So if we head over to the HRRR, or the rapid refresh model, which shows the current radar, you can see the current 18Z radar is coming out. So I'm gonna go back one. This is what the model said could happen, and let's zoom in here. So if we come in down here, if we push his head, you can see right where that tornado watch is issued. So right in this area where that oh my god, I'm sorry, mouse glitch. Right in that area where that tornado watch is, you can see these somewhat supercells beginning to pop up. And even back here a little bit. Now, I'm not saying this is true. This is 1 hour, a couple hours old. This is 17Z, 18Z coming out now. But you can see the storms first initiate over here in west eastern parts of Nebraska and push into Iowa, right where that tornado watch was placed. If we push it forward, you can see those storms further intense right up here. But you see, new storm initiation forms down here. And I'll show that as the radar pushes. But new storm initiation fires, which is weird. You can see there, as these storms push this way into central Iowa and eastern Iowa, the storms start to initiate basically like that. There's a line, there's like a cold front here, a dry line, you could say. And storms begin to initiate off this line. You can see these storms begin to fire up, isolated, and you can see and then they could either form a line, because this is old, so I don't know what the old model is showing. I am making this video late in the day, so the storm initiation from where I showed you that tornado watch, which was current, probably has already started. But if we take a look, you can see at this point, 7 hours ahead of now, so 7 hours from now. This is a CDT time, too, so this would be CDT. So in about 7 hours, if the 18Z holds true, you could see it. We could be seeing a line of storms moving through Kansas, Missouri, and southern Iowa, even, as it pushes further off to the east into that enhanced risk. And that line kind of fizzles. And then right in here, it fizzles out. But then we still have this leading front and then this kind of little tail end right there that'll finish pushing off down to the south. Which, from that point, no more storms. We could be seeing some strong storms in parts of northern Oklahoma near Tulsa, but that would be about the main threats for there if that were to happen. And again, this is old. And those would move off. And then that Day 2 enhanced risk, which had also gotten worse for Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas, would set the stage for Day 2. If we go over to the forecast, if we look at Day 2, pretty much in the same areas except for a little bit further south, or southwest, you can see there's that enhanced risk for parts of Kansas, and Oklahoma. Slight risk goes down into Oklahoma and Texas, but the enhanced risk is for parts of extreme northern parts of Oklahoma and a good portion of central Kansas. Again, main threats for this, so we take a look at 4 panels. So this shows all the panels. 5% tornado risk, a strong hail look, and wind threat would be for any storms that form up here in this general area, up north of that enhanced, and down south here in that slight risk. There may even be an enhanced risk that gets formed down here if it intensifies. But right now, this is what it's showing. You can see, but the greatest threat would be winds and tornadoes for tomorrow. It'd be tornadoes and winds tomorrow. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow's threat. So, if we go ahead and take a look at the composite reflectivity. Actually, yeah, so here's tomorrow. So after that, so here's the storms that the HRR were showing. Those are moving out. Again, this is probably next morning sunrise. And then you can see, right in that enhanced risk, we have some further eastern storm development, which is weird, as before it was showing more central or even a little bit more western. It's showing way farther east out here into portions of Arkansas, very kind of early in the morning. And then, as we push it, they congeal into this like big conglomerate kind of chunky area with a little bit of a break off over here, which could be supportive of more storms if this happens. But the flash flooding threat definitely is a concern for over here. Severe tornadic threat may be over there. If we push this on further, you can see it gets formed, and then it forms. This is where that damaging wind risk happens. You can see a very strong arc. When you see a very strong arc in a line like this, it's called a bowing segment. When there's a bowing segment, it usually means that there's extremely strong damaging winds and even possibly isolated hail and embedded tornadoes. And embedded supercells that could produce tornadoes. And if we further push, you can see it lasts into central Oklahoma. So this will impact downtown Oklahoma, Moore, Norman, and Tulsa. And you can see the low pressure system is somewhere up there. It'll move. It'll continue to move. It will kind of spin more storms, too, off of this. You'll see more storm development up here in that slight risk as this main line. Then this is the NAM 3 kilometers. It likes to overpush. If this happens, this is what the radar could look like for tomorrow. And here's that kind of really strong bowing line that really holds out until it begins to reach southern Oklahoma. Once it reaches southern, you can see right here, just to the west of this main line. Let me erase that. Here's some more storm development just to the west of this main line that's now fizzling out. You'll see more storm development. If we run this, you can see, look, the storms get really intense. And the storms that were here fizzle out, and we have now these in that enhanced risk right here to start worrying about. Now, are these going to be tornadic? Are these going to be supercellular? We don't know. Right now, it just shows significant prominent storm development right here. Right here, moving right into central Oklahoma when those morning storms pass through. Those storms are still going to be there if this model holds true to what could happen tomorrow. These storms are still going through, and they start to re-intensify as the sun heating happens. And you can see, as you push it on, a new strong line has formed to the east. This time, it would be for more, like, Oklahoma towns to the west, in parts of, like, El Reno, like, areas like there. And then we have these rain showers at this point for still in central Oklahoma, which could limit the amount of storm development. But then you can see these strong storms over here that formed are right now shown pushing into central Oklahoma and keeping line as it pushes through. It would really fizzle out, and then it just becomes a bunch of rain, ton of rain up here with some rumbles of thunder, and then a much greater threat for thunderstorms down here, and with that finishing line going into Texas. and maybe even up here a little bit. If we take a look at the IR satellite, this is what shows cloud cover and has a lot to do with storm development. If we run this ahead, so that's today's. You can see it'll form a long line. And that'll move through. And then tomorrow's threat, you'll see storm initiation. The beginning storms happen, but when the storms to the west blow up, there's still a ton of cloud cover over here, which could significantly limit the amount of storm potential that happens. And then the storms just move basically right in. The towns that would see sunshine would be down here, which would be south of the main town. Which would have I guess, if this line forms further south, I guess that's what the SPC is trying to say. If they form further south, then down here would get hit worse. However, if what this model holds true, then the storms would be significant in the west, but downtown would get nothing because of this extra cloud cover from the storms that would happen the day before and in the morning hours. Because you can see, no breaks. When these storms begin to move this way, this storm system just charges this way, with the rain showers still trying to get out and follow that low pressure system that came through. And you can see, it will just push right on through, and it'll keep until finally some sunlight will be shown through. That is what tomorrow and today's could look like. You can see supercell composite. You can see there is the threat for tornadic storms tomorrow. You can see when the first initiation line comes through, significant tornado parameters are high, but then you can see when those storms to the west form, nothing much. It'll be for that main storm up here that pushes through north to southern Oklahoma. That will be the greatest tornado threat for that time. But that is what the models are currently saying. That's a little update. This is Severe Weather Center, and that was an update. I will see you guys in the next one.